Hello, everybody. I produce a series of videos on a sense of purpose. The links are below, and I'd like to thank everybody who commented, friends and family who came to me with suggestions as well. I've been thinking more about Ikigai, which came into the sense of purpose quite a bit, and I'd like to revise or refine what I said about it before. First of all, how do we picture Ikigai? Well, the classical view is you just map Ikigai in a rectangle with the four components at each corner. Joining these components can indicate what stage you're at if you have those two components together. For instance, if you love to do something and the world needs it, you have a mission. And I went through all that before. But it bothered me actually that nobody was joining the corners. And why not? Are those combinations less important? I really don't think so. So I revised the diagram into something quite complicated, really, but it's more correct, I believe, because it connects all the parameters together. Now, as a chemist, I should be totally ashamed to leave it there, because there's a better way to picture Ikigai. Let's go over the components again. You have to love to do something. You have to be paid for it. That's what Ikigai says. The world has to need what you're doing, and you have to be good at it. And Ikigai doesn't sit nearer to any of these than the others. It sits in the center. And when we put it in the center of four parameters, equidistance, we form, of course, a tetrahedron. This is my Ikigai tetrahedron. And the beautiful thing about the tetrahedron is every edge is equidistant. So if we join them up, we can see what we get when we connect all the parameters. For instance, if you're good at something and the world needs it, you have a skill. That was a diagonal before. Or if you love doing something and you're paid for it, but nothing else, well then that's a really good job. I think that was missing from what I said about Ikigai before. The second conclusion I come to is that you need to think about Ikigai like a Japanese and not like a Western person. A good question that everybody might ask is, to what degree? To what degree does the world have to need what you're doing? How much should you get paid for doing that thing? How much do you have to love doing it? What's the degree of enthusiasm that you should have? And how good should you have to be at it? Now, I think Westerners tend to have an unrealistic expectation. Westerners seem to come at life from the perspective of, I deserve to be happy. Why aren't I? But people in the East don't view things that way. They view life as a struggle. And if they can perfect the way they go about things, it becomes less of a struggle and more of a joy. How can they do that? So when we ask to what degree for all these parameters, how much does the world have to need it? It's a personal thing. How much does the world have to need what you're doing relative to all the other things you could do? You personally, not anyone, but you. How much do you have to be paid? Well, you've got to live. But if you have some money, somehow, you don't have to be paid that much more. Ikigai is not about earning a terrific cash income. How much do you have to love it? You don't have to have a grin on your face every single minute that you're doing this thing. It's you love it more than most other things you can do. And how good you have to be at it? Well, you don't have to be the best in the world, but it has to be one of the best skills for you. So I think a Japanese would look at Ikigai from the perspective of a Buddhist. Ikigai predates 1966 when it first became popular, and back then Japan was a more Buddhist country than it is now. So how do Buddhists look at things? They say, well, all of pain, mental anguish, is due to desires and cravings. If you desire money and sex and fast, quick experiences, then you're destined to be unhappy. If you cling on to longevity, then obviously life is fleeting. The idea of Ikigai is to drop these things and be content. Set your mind on doing the best job you can in your circumstances for the people around you, and ideally to have a larger impact on the community as a whole. I didn't quite understand that about Ikigai when I was talking about it earlier, but I think it's true. If you disagree, terrific. Tell me in the comments below. Thank you very much for listening anyway. Bye-bye.